up guys, Movie Maniac here. Alright, so judging by the camera that I'm looking at, the date is now January 1st, 2015. Wow. It's here. Like, 2015 is here. That is awesome. That's great. But a little bit sad at the same time. Well, I mean, for me at least, because 2014 has actually been a great year for movies. I mean, just, I couldn't think of any bad movies I've watched that year. I mean, well, obviously I watched bad movies from last year, but, from in theaters. I haven't seen any bad movies in theaters. Like, I saw some surprising, decent movies. Like, the lowest ratings I ever give to movies I've seen in theaters that year was a C. That's just about it. That's not bad at all. So yeah, 2014 was a great year for movies. I mean, sequels, superhero movies, and even original movies. So yeah, 2014 has been a great year for movies. I do have a top 10 list of my favorite movies of 2014, but this time I decided to do 12 because there was just too many good movies this year. So yeah. Now, before I go on with the list, I do have some honorable mentions of other good movies of 2014. Some of them that didn't make it on my list, but I still think they're good. Big Hero 6, fun movie, fun movie, has a cliche story, but at the same time, you just don't care because the characters are written very well. So, very enjoyable movie. Box Trolls. If you're a fan of stop motion, it is worth it. But it's not just good. But the movie's not just good for its stop motion. It's got good written characters from their personalities, and it's all colorful. Definitely check that one out. The Fault in Our Stars. I was actually surprised that this movie was actually pretty good. I mean, I thought it was going to be a stupid, cheesy movie, but really it wasn't. It had a good story, had good characters, and also the dialogue was also very good too. The music was good, cinematography was pretty good too, so this is actually a real surprise for me that this movie is really pretty good. I mean, if you're looking for like a date movie or just a movie to cry for, it's Fault in Our Stars is your movie. Those are all my honorable mentions. Now let's get to my top 12 favorite movies of 2014. Godzilla. This movie is actually pretty ironic for me because last year, this was like my most anticipated movie of 2014. But when I saw the movie, it's still good. It is, but at the same time, though, it wasn't perfect. It had flaws. And also, I was kind of hoping it would be around my top 5 favorite movies of 2014, but it's not because there were other movies that were better than this. But, however, the more I watch this, the more I really appreciate it. Because, for one thing, Gareth Edwards wanted to please not only just the Godzilla fans, but just regular audiences. He said once that he's trying to make this movie like a Steven Spielberg movie, which it's usually where you have to focus and care about the characters, and there's not that much of the monsters until the very end. Sort of like Jaws or Jurassic Park, which I think Gareth Edwards really captured that really well. So, both as a Godzilla fan and a filmmaker, I approve of this movie. It's awesome. Even if you haven't seen it, check it out. And I'm not just putting this movie on my list because, well, there's really hasn't been any other people who put Godzilla on their top 10 list, or at least none that I have seen, but it's still a good movie. It really is. I mean, heck, it's probably the best American Godzilla movie we have right now. Number 11, Live, Die, Repeat, aka Edge of Tomorrow. This is a fun movie. I mean, when I first saw this movie, I wasn't really expecting anything awesome about it. I thought, okay, it's gonna be another basic, generic, cool Tom Cruise movie, or maybe it could be as boring as Oblivion. No, it's not. Live, Die, Repeat is the most fun, not just the most funnest movie to watch with its action scenes and its characters, but also just the story and the idea. Bringing in Groundhog's Day into the mix. of just action, because the guy is, Tom Cruise is repeating the day over and over again, which it brings us some creative plot ideas for like this cool futuristic war movie. So yeah, and as a sci-fi fan, this movie, it's just all full of awesome sci-fi-ness. Like, Tom Cruise is in this cool suit and everything and starts shooting at aliens, and it's awesome. Also, the visual effects are really cool in this movie. And also, there's some moments with the live, die, repeat thing, where it can be really funny too, like with its comedic tone at sometimes. So yeah, Live, Die, Repeat is probably like one of the best like sci-fi action movies there are this year. It's awesome. It's great. It's awesome. Number 10, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, I don't have this movie because, well, if you guys remember, I have the Phase 1 suitcase set of Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm waiting for Phase 2, basically. But Captain America: The Winter Soldier, oh my god, it is great. I mean, with Phase 2 with Marvel, I mean, they haven't been, they've been starting pretty badly. Like, Iron Man 3 was a disappointment, Thor 2 was good, but it wasn't really as great as, like Avengers or Iron Man. Captain America is definitely what you call good as Iron Man and the Avengers, because Captain America: The Winter Soldier has a really good story, and also bringing in, like, a new genre, bringing in the genre of the action Marvel movies of spy movies. So, I mean, bringing in spies, that's like bringing in the spy genre mix, sort of like Jason Bourne movies. That's actually really cool. The action scenes are really fun to watch too. The characters are really good. Captain America, I love him a lot more in this movie. He's a badass and everything. Black Widow was awesome. Nick Fury was awesome. The Falcon was awesome too. The Winter Soldier was cool. Robert Redford was awesome. This is an awesome Marvel movie. Finally, a really good Marvel movie. Keep it up, Marvel. Number 9, The Hobbit: The Battle of Five Armies. I don't have this one either. It's still in theaters. But the Hobbit: The Battle of Five Armies, well, not as great as such as Smog, but it is still a really fun movie to watch. I mean, I still had like an awesome time watching the movie. And also, not only this movie was a satisfying ending to the Hobbit trilogy, but it's also a satisfying ending to like just the last Middle-earth movie ever made. And it is absolutely, really good. I really like how at the end it ties up really nicely to the Lord of the Rings, and of course I also like how Thorin really gets greedy with his gold. That part is just so interesting. And then there's lots of cool action scenes. I mean, obviously there's gonna be action scenes because 1, it's a Hobbit movie. 2, this movie called The Battle of Five Armies. What are you gonna expect? Number 8, The Lego Movie. This is actually a real good animated movie. Like at first I'm just like, a Lego movie? Yeah, right. I mean, if you guys remember, if you've seen my videos, I have reviewed the Lego movie trailer, the very first one, and I was like, oh, come on. Now you're just doing Lego? You guys are running out of ideas. But no, this movie is real good. Like, for one thing, the CGI animation is great. Now, yeah, it wasn't stop motion, but it looked like it was used for stop motion. In fact, if you looked real closely on the details, you could see like fingerprints on the Legos, like if somebody was actually touching and moving it. That is really cool. And also, I loved how they take this big whole cliche prophecy story thing with the movie, but taking it in such a creative way, and then it kind of blows your mind so much. It's real awesome. The Lego Movie is awesome. It also has memorable characters as well as an awesome theme song. Everything is awesome. Even I have the shirt of it. It's real cool. So, I mean, Lego Movie is just probably one of the most funnest animated movies of the year. Check it out. Number 7, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was good, but Dawn surpassed it. I think the reason why is because this movie had this big whole huge theme for trust. Because for one thing, like the apes has to, like for one thing, like Caesar has to trust has addressed the humans, or at least the partial of the humans, that way they can have the power and everything. But then, the apes and apes has to trust or don't trust each other, or even the humans and humans don't trust each other. Then there's like an ape and another human that doesn't trust each other. Basically, this whole big theme, basically, the one word that describes about this movie is trust. There's just so much of that, and I think they've done that so well, and bringing in like such intense moments when characters don't trust each other, or if they get real scared and everything, and there's all this misunderstanding. It's really cool how this movie really acknowledges that. The CGI is freaking fantastic, and Andy Serkis, Titty Camedy, give him a freaking Oscar nomination. For Best Actor, for Best Motion Capture, whatever. Give him at least something. This guy knows how to act. And I know some people would be like, oh no, but he's just in a motion capture costume. He's just there for visual effects. But he was acting and performing throughout that whole CGI. You can feel all that amazing acting from that CGI effects. And Andy Serkis is so good. And this movie's, and that's one of the reasons why I just praise this movie is just Andy Serkis. He's a great actor. So yeah, and he really makes this movie awesome. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now it's kind of weird. Most YouTube reviewers or just any movie reviewer would usually put, Captain America: The Winter Soldier as like their favorite Marvel movie of the year. Well, actually, my favorite Marvel movie of the year is Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, Captain America is still a great movie, but I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy just surpasses it more because, well, for one thing, Marvel took this huge risk of bringing these unknown characters. Before, this movie, nobody knows anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. And pretty much Marvel did like the biggest risk of having James Gunn and bringing these unknown heroes that most people don't know and putting it on the big screen successfully. Like not just money-wise successfully, but just the movie successfully. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the special effects. I love the music and everything. In fact, this is like the one Marvel movie I would just watch over and over again. And yeah, I know, it's kind of weird how I said I would wait for the Phase 2 set. But with Guardians, when it came out to Blu-ray, I'm just like, screw it. I'm going to buy it. It's amazing. There's just no way I'm going to wait for it. Must freaking own. It's worth it. Number 5, How to Train Your Dragon 2. This is, now, How to Train Your Dragon 2 is actually my favorite animated movie of the year. Because, for one thing, How to Train Your Dragon was great. How can you surpass, great? I don't know what's another word for great, but How to Train Your Dragon 2. Yeah, I think that's what I'll call it for now on. How to Train Your Dragon 2, I was so surprised with this movie. Like, I didn't expect this to be better than the first movie, but it is. The story, it didn't, just repeat the same thing what the movie did or the same formulas. It moved on with the story. It moved on with its characters, not just mentally, but also physically. How the teenagers, the kids would just grow up into teenagers, which I think that's real cool. The animation is beautiful. Sometimes I mistake it for just real life. And also the cinematography as well with the flying scenes. It's worth it. It was worth seeing on the big screen in IMAX 3D. It was so good. So, yeah, definitely awesome. Even if you have an HD TV that has 3D or just as big as a theater, it's worth it. Number 4, Noah. I don't have this movie. I need to get it. Noah is a real awesome movie. Now, it is kind of a strange pick to have this one as up around my top 5, but I really adore Noah. Because, for one thing, I like how they took this classic Bible story into, a mythology. If it was told as a mythology. Because whenever I think of mythologies, I think of, different, unrealistic, crazy, bizarre. That's what basically how this movie was told. And I really loved how the way the movie was told that way. The actors were really good, especially Russell Crowe. The visuals are really cool. The ending is super intense. Like, it kind of gets you going, like, no one gets all crazy at the end, and then everything gets all crazy, and it was just Noah is just such a bizarre movie. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It's bizarre. I mean, if you're into those kind of movies that just, just comes out of nowhere and stuff like that, and also some visuals telling the story. Like, sometimes there's some scenes where Noah would dream, and, they don't really, like, explain from the words of the dialogues from characters, but more as visualized. It is awesome. I mean, if you like those kind of crazy, bizarre movies, this is your movie. Noah is awesome. Number 3, X-Men Days of Future Past. We needed this movie in our lives. Just really, because, like, the X-Men movies were going downhill. I mean, they kept making spin-offs, prequels, spin-offs, and it's getting real annoying. And then Bryan Singer came back to the director's chair and he was like, you know what? I'm going to go back with the X-Men and actually fix it. Fixing it by restarting it. That is a great idea to a franchise that is into a mess right now. It's perfect. So, yeah, I mean, even though I do like some of the recent X-Men's, like X-Men First Class and the Wolverine, but, we wanted to see, like, a move-on story with X-Men, which X-Men 3 ruined. Basically, you could just ignore X-Men 3 and just watch this. It's perfect. I mean, now X-Men is back on track. I mean, that's not the only reason why I like this movie. The actors are real good in this movie, especially Michael Fassbender. I think this is like my favorite performance he's ever done in like history. James McAvoy was really good. Hugh Jackman was good. So yeah, all the actors are really good, especially Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. She's real good. The visual effects are really awesome to watch, especially the futuristic scenes, because they remind me so much of Terminator, and it just looks so cool. So yeah, X-Men Days of Future Past is an amazing movie. I mean, if you felt like really cluttered, or if you want to start with the X-Men movies, you don't know where to start, you can start with this one. You don't have to watch all the X-Men movies, just watch this one. It's that simple. Number 2, Gone Girl. Gone Girl is freaking nuts. I mean, like, shit, it just flies throughout the wall. I mean, shit just hit the fan. I mean, that's basically, the best way to describe this movie. Well, not like as in it's a bad movie, but the story, crap, there's a bunch of stuff that happens. There's just, I mean, again, I can't spoil it for you guys, because you gotta see this movie for yourselves to know that. And pretty much that's just all I have to say for this movie. Otherwise, great acting, great cinematography, great directing from David Fincher. I love his movies, especially like Seven, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and The Social Network. I mean, this movie's no exception as a real good David Fincher movie. In fact, I think it's my favorite David Fincher movie so far. I mean, I haven't seen like Fight Club yet, which I should see that. But Gone Girl, see it. If you haven't, just see it. It's worth it. Number 1, and my favorite movie of the year is Interstellar. Now, this movie had such a huge split on people, or on audiences. Like, there's people who loves this movie and people who hates this movie. I'm one of the people who really loves this movie because, for one thing, the movie is directed by Christopher Nolan. I freaking love Christopher Nolan because, not only he can make real good, superhero movies with the Dark Knight movies, but he can also do really well with original movies like, Memento and Inception, The Prestige. Inception was really, I said Inception. Interstellar was real good. Like, the story, just kind of asks us what is beyond over the black hole, and it's just really cool how you get to see the whole character. The characters, Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, just going up into outer space and going in to the black hole and discovering lots of cool things. So, I mean, the story is fantastic, especially the ending. The visuals are amazing. I mean, they use practical effects in this movie. Awesome! The acting is really good. Matthew McConaughey is freaking fantastic. I loved Anne Hathaway's performance. Jessica Chastain was real good in this movie. John Lithgow was real good in this movie too. Even Topher Grace is in this one too. I thought it was an odd choice, but at the same time though, he still did a pretty good job. So yeah, and also the music. I don't usually talk about the music that much, music in movies that much, but the music in Interstellar was awesome. Just so cool. Like, buy this soundtrack; it's worth it. And then another thing I really love about this movie is that it pays so much tribute and so much homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I feel like that this movie will become a classic. Because like when 2001: A Space Odyssey came out to theaters, a lot of people either liked the movie or hate it back then. But now it has become like the most beloved sci-fi movies of all time. And pretty much I feel like that's what Interstellar is going to be like. Like, it's split with audiences, but then like later throughout the years it would be beloved and become a classic. I mean, I think it would become a classic as well. I mean, Interstellar was just fantastic. I mean, I think this is probably like Christopher Nolan's like second best movie. I even think it's better than The Dark Knight. Honestly, it is amazing. Oh yeah, if you want to know my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, it's The Dark Knight Rises. It's awesome. But for best like original film or just best any Christopher Nolan movies that's not Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar is amazing. I love this movie. When it comes out to Blu-ray, I'm gonna get like a box set of it. Like, it'll be worth it and everything. It's awesome. I love it. Interstellar, one of my favorite movies of 2014. So yeah, love it. So my ultimate question today is, what is your favorite movie of 2014? Comment down below. Check out my other videos, are really cool. Like and subscribe. Like my page on Facebook. See ya.